Hi, hon. How are you?
How are you?
Doing good. It's good to see you.
My gosh, thank you so much, Vanessa. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, it's so awesome to be here with you.
Thank you, girl. Thank you. So, hey, listen. So we're gonna get nasty. No, I'm just kidding. I have some. I thought, what can I ask Vanessa? You
Oh my
know,
goodness.
something. I said, my gosh, she probably has talked the same thing. In a lot of interviews, and here I am, and I'm asking the same questions.
I'm so open. I'm so just excited to be here. So that's awesome to get a chance to talk to you. That is great. So
Well, so let me tell you, we're getting some people to come in. So we advertise it, and we of course are in Brazil, and you're in US, and we are really happy that virtually we can invite you to come over to another continent so far away.
and that's why I'm so excited to be here. So thank you, Yvette. Thank
That's
you.
nice. That's great. So, well, I have some questions. I have your book, the
Yes,
latest one. Here.
yes, yay. Hi.
Just need your autograph. And I need to take a picture with you.
Oh, yes. Oh, we should do that. That'd be awesome.
Definitely, definitely. So we're gonna be talking about your newest book. And
Okay.
hello, Giselle. We have someone from Brazil joining us. She's my
Hello, Giselle. How are you?
friend. And
Hi, great, thank you.
so Giselle is one of my best friends. She's a blogger, and
Awesome.
she helps us a lot to
I
promote
love it.
our books. And she's an illustrator also.
That is awesome. Why did I know that?
So she said, I missed this thing today. So we're having Vanessa Newton. She is an illustrator. She's an author. She's a singer, which I didn't know. And she is my teacher, my mentor, and I'm very happy to say that she's my friend.
Yes.
And
Oh,
she's
so
here
happy
with us
to see
today.
that.
So
Yes.
Vanessa, so I'm gonna get into the first question. So because we have
Sure.
40 minutes, so the first question I have for you is, why do you think that it took so long to see a variety of multicultural books and diverse books? Why the last 5, 7 years, not even 7 years, I would say the last 5 years, suddenly we woke up? Is that what happened? I mean, tell me your thoughts, please, because sometimes this is ridiculous, isn't it? That took generations after generations
Absolutely.
to realize that we have a diverse, globally, community. So
I think, especially here in America, there is such racism, unfortunately, where if your skin is black or brown, or you have slanted eyes, if you have an accent or whatever, you are looked at totally as an outsider, or you can appear to be exotic, and things like that. And the industry here for publishing has been predominantly white. That's what it is, white and Jewish. Those are the only two that you've really seen a whole lot of editors that are white or of Jewish background. And it kind of focused on them and their world and what they wanted to see. And that's how it is, I guess. It's just the nature of people, is to put out what they see. That's it. But then you have wonderful artists and illustrators like Ezra Jack Keats, who came along, who did The Snowy Day. And
I have it.
yes,
Beautiful.
and it is the first time that we actually see a beautiful black child
Beautiful.
as
Beautiful.
the star or the protagonist of a book, and he's not in a poor neighborhood, and he has two parents, and he's just having a wonderful snowy day. That's all he's doing.
yeah,
And when Ezra did that book, he got in trouble. He did it with Viking Press. And Viking Press here in the United States really gave him a hard time. It was during the 1960s, actually the year I was born, 1963 when the book came out. And it was right smack dab in the middle of the civil rights movement. And so they thought he was trying to make some kind of,
statement.
Statement or protest, exactly. And they were not happy about it at all. They were not happy about it. And it took him a long time to do the book as well. They were expecting him, they gave you like a year or so to do a book. But they wanted to know, because it was taking 2 years now, why haven't you gotten us this artwork? And they were writing him letters and all this kind of stuff. And I found this stuff out by going to the Jewish Museum, and they actually had a show of Ezra Jack Keats's work. And I got to read some of the letters from the editor, and they were not happy at all with him. And he says of Peter, and I take this everywhere I go, he says of Peter, he should have been there all along.
Yeah.
If you live in a place where there's snow, if you live in a place where there's cold weather, every child looks forward to that first snowfall, where they get to go outside.
Around the world, it's an event that, in some areas there's no snow, but we can learn, and that's what it is. Books take us everywhere, right? If we don't have abilities. And it's all about children at the end of the day. And children comes in all different forms and shapes, and it's like, hello.
And sizes.
And sizes, exactly.
So saying that, oh my gosh, there's a thing that I saw that I was so, amazed of your talk. And you related a story in SCBWY about adversity and the goat. And I was so, impressed by that video. That was like, how many years? That was like...
That would be 4 years.
How many?
Almost 4 years ago.
Oh, 4 years ago. 4 years ago that you did that video. Wow. Yeah, I didn't pay attention on the date. I was just looking at the whole speech. And at the very, very end, what you close on that video, right? You said, this is adversity, what exactly I have been experienced through all my professional career. And I was like, the story of the goat is phenomenal. And I'm going to have to ask permission to share that video, because
yes, you have permission.
It's worth it to have that video and share it to here in Brazil and the world, because it's a real thing, and it's a true statement, and it counts. It definitely counts. And another thing that I love that you said, because every time that you say something, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so inspired. Let me write a little post notes. and you said, when you do your characters and you teach us how to do the characters, one of the things that you said, there's only one race, and that's human race. And that I have my post note on my wall, because what do? We publish children books, and everything comes back to the same thing. We are doing this not because for us, we're doing it for them, right? And it's true. It's just one human race. And right now, what we're living is an example of how suddenly we are all one, all together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I want to say on that one, I worked in a hospital for 25 years as a phlebotomist. That was my job. I would draw blood on patients. But my specialty was drawing blood on babies. Some of them I could hold in my hand. They were so tiny. Yeah. And their feet would be sometimes that big. And I didn't even want to touch them, because I felt like I was going to break them, hurt them in some kind of way.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that to say this. In all the years that I've ever worked in a hospital, I never had a white baby, Hispanic baby, Brazilian baby, African baby, Italian baby, German baby, Chinese baby. Never tell me, put me down because your arms are brown. They never asked me to put them down.
And they all run, and they all make the same noise because they
exactly. Babies want to know 3 things. Is there warm milk somewhere where I can get some milk? Yeah. Are you going to change my diaper when I mess it up? And are your arms strong enough to hold me? That's all they care about. So it's not babies or children that put color into children's books. It is the editors and the different people who have control, who bring the racism into it. And it is, I'm calling it out, it is racism.
Yeah,
well,
it is.
I told you we were gonna get nasty, but I was not kidding, because we know we have to talk. This is the time, and it shouldn't be this. It had to be from yesterday. The time to force and remind us the responsibility that we have as parents, as teachers, as readers, as lovers of books, and etc. I can go on and on. Of what importance is to talk about this, and how important is to share with the world different views, different perspectives.
Absolutely.
Maybe perhaps, talking, let's say business-wise, maybe in a certain area in a country where you don't have a mix, a very, very clear variety of mix of diversity, perhaps it's going to be more difficult to sell a book. Let's say that predominantly it's Italians, but not necessarily in Italy. It could be here in Brazil, because we do have a lot of Italian influence in Brazil. And maybe as a publisher, if I get a book from Italy in Italian or in Portuguese, as a publisher, I may think, whoa, I think I'm gonna make some sales. Versus if I bring, believe it or not, a book from a remote country that maybe they don't have a very big variety of that nationality in a given country, and that's going to be a little bit more difficult to sell it, because it's very far away from the cultural point. But cultural point is not a bridge saying that, right? Because what are we doing right now? We're connecting around the world. So there's no such thing as, distances. On the contrary, everything comes back to connecting and believing in connection. And
I will even say we have to have the attitude of Corona. And you know what Corona says? Corona doesn't care what color you are, where you come from. It doesn't care, And so that needs to be our attitude. Where that's the only good thing about it, is the attitude of it. Doesn't care that you're rich or poor, you're a movie star, you're whatever. It doesn't care. And we have to adopt that. It is not all white people who feel that way, but they get knocked down because, this is the way that it's been going all these years, and we don't know that we have the power to change it. And so they're afraid sometimes to say anything different. And it is our job as illustrators and writers to write such fantastic things, to illustrate so beautifully that they don't care what color you are.
That's right.
I want that book. I want that illustrator. Yes. That's it.
That's true. That's true. I think that the secret is, I have a very good dear friend, and he said, Yvette, if you're going to make books, make a book as close as an art, as close as a piece of art. Don't worry about cost. Don't worry about the number of pages, format. And don't worry if the illustrator is far away or not, because that illustrator may bring something so special to the book.
Very true.
And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to survive, girl. That's what we're trying to do. So let me ask you another question, Vanessa. Yes. Why also do we see in the last 5 years books of girls, women, and I'm not going to go into feminism because I'm not strong enough to talk about that subject.
Me either.
So I don't want to talk about that because I cannot defend that subject.
Me either. But while we're seeing it, I believe that there is a changing. There is a demand from parents and moms in particular who are raising girls. The fact is that the family structure has changed. There are not a whole lot of fathers, unfortunately, in home. Yeah. And we do need to see books where fathers are at home with their children, because it's not all fathers are just out there, not in their kids' lives. So we need to have a balance. It needs to definitely be a balance. But there is a truth that there are a lot of young girls who don't have fathers in their homes, and they have to do the grocery shopping, the mowing of the lawn, the this, the that a man would probably have to do for them in order to take care of themselves. What about the mom that has to go and work 2 jobs and leave her 2 baby girls at home? And the older girl has to, maybe change the kid's diaper or clothes before they go to bed. Maybe they have to cook rice and peas and everything for the child while mom is at work. That's real. That's very real. And so I want to see, along with a whole bunch of writers like yourself, illustrators like yourself, we want to see little girls empowered to be, not just I'm pretty. It's not just that, but I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I could do whatever I have to do, and if a man comes along to help, great.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that a man isn't the only goal that she has in life is to get married. So I think that the books are so important to see that they can do it by themselves, and it's okay to be by yourself too.
Yes. The marriage is not, we had, back in history or back in the day, it was every little story had to do with a little girl getting married.
Yes. And a happy ending.
Yes, that's a happy ending.
That's the prince.
Her prince came. Every little girl is not looking for her prince. Like, I'll give you a great, for instance, I'm writing a book, and it's a new Cinderella story. And this new Cinderella story is not so much about her being abused by the women that she's around, but she knows that she's an awesome seamstress, and she creates these fabulous gowns. Okay, and then she goes to see how people react at the festival or whatever they go to the ball, and she's just there to see how they react. Well, the prince comes along and he wants to kind of hit on her, and she's not interested. She's not. And so it's not this ordinary Cinderella story where she gets the man in the end.
Well, that reminds me.
Your customers.
That came to my mind. That image, that poor little frog waiting for the girl to kiss the frog and become a priest, because those frogs are going to sit down a long time and wait in their log. Because things are changing.
They really are.
So, my next question is, we're going to shift a little bit the conversation and getting to know the illustrator, the artist, and tell us, Vanessa, where your ideas come from, where you get inspired. Your office is beautiful. You have so many nice.
It's a little messy right now.
Toys. Books.
But I'm inspired by other illustrators, honestly.
You do?
I look at other illustrators' work, and I'm just being. This is just me.
Yes.
I look at a lot of illustrators in America. I watch what we do. I watch what is coming out, and I'm so impressed with what we have coming out. But I'm even more impressed by my Brazilian sisters and brothers who are doing illustration, those from France and those are from Asia. The work that is coming, and even my goodness, from Africa, the work that is coming out from these illustrators are blowing my mind. It is, I will even say, you all have a restraint that's taken off of you that unfortunately here in America we still have on. And it's what's to be expected, that's different. And if it's too different, then, we kind of push it to the side. But what I find from illustrators from Spain, illustrators from Argentina, illustrators from Cuba, and all these different, the love, the expression, the ability to just kind of just strip off everything and do something different is there, and it's so upfront that it just captures me. And you all are getting the awards. You all are getting the worldwide awards that really matter, because it is not Americanized. It's not just about America and what Americans bring to the table. It's not. And so that's what I'm impressed with. I'm looking at y'all.
Let me tell you, this actually, I'm so glad that you said that, because this actually is happening. because last year I was able to go to Bologna's book fair. And this year I was not planning to go. I'm happy that I was not planning to go because I would have lost, you know, the tickets and the cost and everything. So I was not really planning to go. But we were all very sad that, of course, that book fair and a lot of other book fairs, international book fairs, have been cancelled. And I was sitting in my house and suddenly I said, okay, if I cannot, you know how they say, if you cannot go to the mountain, you bring the mountain to you, or something like that. So then I thought, you know, we're gonna do a virtual gallery in Instagram through Mercado Libros. And we start posting images, and every single image of the illustrator has been with permission. We have been contacting them, and we have been traveling around the world, and we have discovered, like you just said, I mean, treasures and treasures of different illustrators, you know, and different colors and palettes and forms, and it's just unbelievable. And then through this Galleria, then I thought we need to do something else, and we need to start, you know, talking to illustrators, authors, publishers. So then that has a more, you know, ground foundation of why this whole thing has started. And obviously you were not going to be skipped, because I said, you know, we have to bring Vanessa as well. So saying that, Vanessa, tell us, what is, everybody has a voice. Everybody has a voice. What is your voice? Can you share that with us as an author? Because let me say something, maybe some people don't know that you also, besides being an amazing illustrator, you are an author. So as an author or as an illustrator, what is your voice?
You know, that's funny, Yvette, that you asked that, because I'm still trying to figure it out. And I'll tell you why. I am dyslexic. And so with dyslexia, reading wasn't my first love at all. I was a very, very bad student in school, and I was failing from the time I was 5 years old until I went to my first year in college. My grades were just awful, just really, really bad grades. And so reading was not my thing, but singing was my thing. And because I was dyslexic, and because I stuttered really, really bad, I was a stutterer, a stammerer as a child, and I still stutter, but my parents taught me that if I sang, I wouldn't stutter. And so music actually became, or writing lyrics actually became, how I began to write. I could write a song like that. You know, I got the rhythm or whatever, I can write a song really, really fast. And that kind of opened the door for we have, you know, poetry, of course, you have limericks, you have haikus, you have ballads and things like that, as far as the forms of poetry. Well, free verse is where I live. And so the voice in my head is to speak whatever is in my heart. And so the books that I did a book called Don't Let Auntie Mabel Bless the Table. I come from a very big family. We love having dinner, and we pray over the food before it comes out. Now the problem is that before we begin to eat, there are people who will pray and pray and pray and pray and pray and pray over the food, and it all gets cold and everybody gets upset. So I wrote a story about that. Then I wrote a story of Let Freedom Sing. And that was the story of Martin Luther King, and basically all that he did to bring a whole world, not just a community, a whole world together. And then I do a book called Grandma's Purse. And Grandma's Purse is the story of me and my grandmother. So it really is about my childhood, about how I was raised, what I thought about as a child, relationships. So that's my voice. My voice is that of family, relationships, friendship, really gentle. It's not deep, you know. In America, we want to get Caldecots and Newberry, all that kind of stuff. And I haven't won any of those things. And I'm thinking, well, maybe my books are not deep enough. But I write what's in my heart. I write what's in my heart. And that's what people connect with.
Yes.
Connect with that. So
Definitely.
that's what I'm saying.
That's
You know, can I just say one thing? There's a book here called Dislexando. It's about a girl that has dyslexia.
You didn't even send it to me.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking because she wrote it to the people that read feels what she goes through. So sometimes there are two sentences, the same sentence, and she explains that for her to read, she would put an X in the end of the sentence and a circle in the beginning, so she wouldn't lose herself. And the story is so great, and there's a lot of people who relate to it. It's beautiful because it shows the world how you feel, how it feels to not be able to learn to read the same way, because everybody reads and feels differently, but people want to put you in a box, and it's so hard. So when she wrote this book, it was so it was from the heart, and you can feel it while you read it. It's very beautiful.
I look forward to
Those are the best of stories. Those are, the ones that come from the heart, from the soul. Those are the best stories, because kids can relate to that. We have
Yes.
children have feelings. Nobody, is going to disagree on that. And when you, do illustrations also that are relatable to kids, of course, they're going to be much more willing to buy that book versus those beautiful books that they have beautiful illustrations, but they are not relatable to kids. And that's another topic. That's almost like opening a Pandora box and having two different illustrators talking about their beautiful books, and one that is trying to, I think that there's a lot of layers, on that story. I'm not going to go into that, but that's a good idea to come up with a conversation about that. So let me ask you another question. So Vanessa, so now I know why Vanessa sings, because one of the only reason why I know why you sing is because you are the first one that I have seen in this, pandemic, lockdown, or whatever you want to call it, the word being in the house, that we cannot go anywhere. And I have seen so many people telling us stories. I have seen storytellers. I have seen, very talented people that sing songs, but they make the songs of a book. And Vanessa was singing a story of your book in one of the videos that you did. I'm like, what? So I'm not going to ask you to sing, but if you want to share that link sometime, I'll be happy to share that.
Yes, we can do that another time. Absolutely. we call them sing reads. That's what they're called.
Oh, she's actually going and singing. And that was amazing. So tell us another thing, Vanessa. Did you went to school? Did you go to school to learn art, or did you learn on your own?
Oh, I'm self-taught.
You're self-taught. Okay.
I am self-taught. I was drawing from the age of 3 years old.
Wow.
Because I wasn't talking. I was not talking. I didn't talk really till I was 5. And the kind of household I come from, my mom and dad were very hard workers, both of them. Sometimes between the two of them, they would have 5 jobs. And so they didn't really have time to tell me and my sister stories at night before we went to bed. So we didn't really get bedtime stories like some children get. We didn't get that. We got music. We got lots and lots of music. And I would draw my own pictures sometimes while we would be singing. I would draw a picture. And what we noticed, or what my parents noticed, was the teachers, when I finally did go to school at 5 years old, children that were drawing at 5, I was drawing like a 10-year-old.
Wow. And
so by the time I got 10, I was drawing like somebody who was 15 or 20.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I got to 20, it was all that I wanted to do. It was the way I expressed myself. I got bad grades in school, but the teachers would always write notes home to my mother. If Vanessa would just concentrate, she's always drawing. It was the way that I communicated, and that they didn't have courses for dyslexic children in school.
Mm-hmm.
There was no special, they would just put you in what we call here in America, special ed.
Uh-huh.
And that's where children who did not learn like other children were put. And basically all of them, they weren't mentally, defected or anything like that. And I don't want to say defected. They weren't defected children. They were children who learned differently.
Yeah.
That's a very good way to say it. That's a great way to say it. There were children, and there are children that they learn different, which is...
They learned differently. And what we needed was teachers who could understand that and could work in that manner. And God blessed me with 2 teachers when I was in high school that understood that I was dyslexic and understood that I learned a different way. And they were the ones who saw that I had art in me, because basically my parents, their idea was, how can Vanessa be what she's never seen? She's never seen a Black artist.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know a Black writer or whatever. So how can she be that? So it was, no, be a nurse, be a secretary, be, anything other than an artist, because all we hear is starving artists. And so we don't want you to be that. So I was self-taught, went to school, went to FIT in New York to further my learning and everything. And then went to SVA in New York as well, and learned even more about children's book illustration.
Wow. That's amazing, because, at the end of the day, you went back to your, dream. You went back to your happy place, which is colors and drawing. And I'm so happy for that, because I think that it's so important for us as adults to do what we love to do, no matter what is your profession. At the very end, you really have to be truthful to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the secrets that we know, that if you do that, we live in a happy world, at least in our world. Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
At least we can breathe, and we can be happy in our world, and we can share that happiness through to the rest of the people. So that's great. So another question, Vanessa, is right now I know that you're experimenting with collage, and I want you to please share your books. I don't know if you have some books up there.
Yes, I do. Well,
if you want
I
to
have
collage,
books. Yeah.
so we can see the latest inventions that Vanessa is creating.
Yep. So I have my sketchbook.
Yeah.
Ah, great.
And so
How beautiful.
Beautiful.
these are just some, but lots of collage.
Oh, that's collage.
I
Wow.
love collage. And I love making my own papers. Trying to find a couple of pieces that are collaged here.
Yeah, one of the things that you said is, when you have time, for those illustrators that are listening right now, or later they will see the YouTube video, you always say, make papers, color papers, keep them, because you never know when they are handy, and that can be...
Oh, how cute.
Oh,
Exactly.
the girl with the little cheeks. So cute.
And so these are some of my favorite collages. I mean,
Very nice.
I collect paper.
Is that a trend? You think this is a trend right now of collage? Or
collage has always been there.
it has been always there? Okay, it has been there.
Yeah, it's just that I think now that we have a freedom that we're trying to get here in America, that we've seen in Brazil, we've seen in other countries. We're now starting to embrace it as well, and starting to take off some of the reins of, you need to keep it like this, it needs to look like that, and do what's in our hearts and do what's in our creative spirits to do. Definitely freeing us up.
That's good. So talking about, your style, and talking about what you're doing now, which countries would you like your books and yourself to travel?
I'm so glad you asked this. I want to go to Brazil. I want to come where you are. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to definitely come to Brazil. I definitely want to go to France. I am looking forward to going to England. I was actually supposed to go to France this year, but because of Corona, I will not be able to travel for the next 16 months. I won't be going anywhere. But I definitely want to go to Spain. Absolutely go to Spain. I'm looking to go to Holland as well. Germany. I have lots of friends in Germany, so I'm looking to go to Germany as well. Definitely to Africa. Absolutely to Africa. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you know, when things get better, we are going to find a way of how to invite you to come over. And we'll send you all our love from here.
I send it right back.
So let's talk about, we have 5 minutes and I really want to talk about this book.
Yes.
Just like me, this is a book that it's beautiful because Vanessa is presenting poems, right? And this is very poetically, does that word exist? Is that correct?
That's right. Yes.
And it's beautiful. And one of the things that I like, it says here, there are all kinds of girls. This is the title of the book. Vanessa, which kind of girl you are?
I am all kinds of girls.
Great answer, Vanessa. Great answer. So
yes.
This is one of the things I want to show because this format does not exist in Brazil. We don't have these jackets, okay? So
wow.
Yeah, it's too expensive here, they think.
Yeah. So then the book actually looks like this. Look at this. Look at
Beautiful.
this. And this is, I bet you this is obviously one of the papers, right, Vanessa?
Yes, that's one of my papers, exactly.
And she just beautifully used
beautiful
as a background. And this is the cover actually of the book. And then it opens, and let me see real quickly here. I'm gonna just, oh, look at this, so sweet. It's like, can you guys see paper dolls? Yes. Kind of like, all different, beautiful. And I'm gonna just share a little bit more of the book, but just a little bit because we're gonna tease them. We're gonna tease them. And this this is one, and it's poems, and it's all about empowering, and it's all about having that child identify herself in the picture. And reinforcing the concept of uniqueness as well, because everybody, every one of us is unique and have a special gift. So, you know, if you want to know more about this book, we're going to put a link.
Yes, I do.
Where you can buy it. So Vanessa, so let me tell you another question, the last question that we have. Right now, do you have an agent or not?
Yes, I do.
You do have an agent, okay.
Yes.
And in your opinion, for those new illustrators, in the beginning, do you suggest having an agent, or do you suggest them trying first the what, and then getting into having an agent? What are your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. Well, everybody's first thing is, oh, I need an agent. No, what you first need to do is build that blog. If you can build a blog, I tell people all the time, even if you don't have a website, if you can build a blog where you got people coming to see your work, you're putting your work out there for people to see, that's going to put a drive in people to come and see your work. And you start building your portfolio, because now you're making artwork. You don't need anybody to tell you what to make. But if you do need some ideas, you give yourself jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we illustrate a book that you've had from childhood. You know, take some of the pages from that you love and we illustrate it. We illustrate characters that you loved as a child. You know, maybe it's the 3 pigs, and so you tell a story of the 3 pigs in your unique way. Maybe they're not pigs. Maybe they're 3 wolves, and then there's a pig. You know, so you find different ways to tell your story. And in doing so, you build what it is that you want, the look that you want, without somebody telling you, oh, you should do that, you should do this, you should do everything. You do what makes you feel good, because people buy what makes you happy.
Great. And I'm gonna stop right there because I don't want Zoom to cut us. So thank you, Vanessa. We are just, our time is gone. So we really appreciate it a lot. And hopefully we can invite you sometime in person.
Yes!
To Brazil.
Looking forward to it. Take care, everyone.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.